Welcome to another episode, ladies and gentlemen, to Rise Urban Nation. Your host, Taryell, in the building. And I got my other T in the building, Trivelle. TNT, we dynamite. We gonna make it happen. Look, we was just chopping it up.
Yep.
And I found out, because I heard the young man.
Yep.
Tell the people where you're from, man.
You know, it's crazy. So obviously I'm born in Toronto, Canada, but I gotta go with the lineage. Both my parents are from Jamaica. So I've been there more times than I can count. The food, the culture, the attitude, the energy courses through my veins. So, you know, we was having a conversation about food and we almost didn't get to the recording. You know, you can't be telling me you brought the jerk seasoning from back home and we don't say nothing. You get me?
Yeah, like, and then, you know, you got the real jerk seasoning because my mom just came from Jamaica with the jerk seasoning in the water bottle. And and I was just telling my partner here, we made some jerk oxtail, some jerk pork, and put it on the grill with that. Ooh, boy, it was slamming.
They have this thing. I mean, you're out in San Diego, so it's warm, so you can get like the jerk drum, and you kind of smoke it over the course of the day, and you get that hard crust. And you getting me because it's cold out here. I can't even be doing that, you know. So you're getting me all the way excited.
Look, I realized there's a good population of Black people in Canada, like Jamaicans, Trinidadians, and there's some Nigerians. How did all these tropical people get out to Canada? like how did do you know how your parents got out there?
It was originally the Commonwealth, right? So you got to figure people from Jamaica, they could either go to England or Canada because of Commonwealth countries. So you know, we thank the Queen. I guess if you want to thank anybody, you thank the Queen for that. But that's why they have I know they have a really big reggae festival, I think, in like Nottingham Reggae Fest or something like that. And then obviously we got to have Caravana up here in Toronto. I would argue that Caravana is, you know, is serious. Because I remember a couple of years ago, do you remember there's this actor named John Boyega who was in the Star Wars films, and he went to Nottingham Street Fest and he was catching a wine, and they got mad because they're like, what is this man in Star Wars catching a wine at the street festival for? So you know, it's in the culture. You know, you can't fight it.
Yeah, you know, I remember the first time I heard that there was a Jamaican in Canada when my boy T Dot came through. T Dot. Is he still doing stuff up there?
Nah, man. Drake cleaned everybody out.
Drake cleaned everybody out.
Drake cleaned everybody out.
Oh man.
Even the local shows don't have the same kick anymore. I remember there was one time, because I used to, which I'm sure we'll get into, I used to run around the music scene a little bit. And there was this artist named, real talented dude named John River. And I remember he was like, to be the best rapper in the city, you have to be the best rapper in the world, because the best rapper in the world is from this city. And like, that was an enjoyable reality, but then it made it tough for a lot of highly talented people, I think, to get their opportunity, because he was just taking up all the air in the room at that time.
Man, okay. Well, I hope they let more cats get on, because I got some talent out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's because me and you probably just start just going on in random conversation. Look, before the people who don't know who Trivelle is, tell the people who is Trivelle. You know, I know that's a deep question, but take it far and wide as you want to go with it.
Yeah. The simplest answer, I'll give two. Simplest answer is I'm the president and founder of a company called the Drive Group, which is a venture and real estate development fund. We invest in small and startup businesses. We accelerate other businesses. We do real estate all across North America, trying to scale globally. That's the simple answer. The perhaps more complex answer is I'm a Renaissance man just trying to acquire new skills.
Ooh, I like that. Renaissance man trying to acquire new skills. Break that down. What does that mean?
So, you know,
that might go over some people's head.
No, so it's like, you know, you think a Renaissance man is somebody who, when I was a kid, I used to love James Bond, you know?
Yeah.
And something that was true about James Bond is so capable. He speaks every language. He can drive every car. He always had money. Every suit looked great on him. That to me is what a Renaissance man is. Somebody who's highly capable in different areas, whether they know it or don't know it yet. And I think that if I am anything, it is somebody who's just trying to be better at everything. You know, so in that way, I'm just a Renaissance man trying to acquire new skills. You know, I can cook, I play football, I paint the back porch. You know, that line from Friday Night Lights. You know, so that's pretty much me.
I love that. A modern day Renaissance man.
Yeah.
That kind of breaks down your career, because I know you made most of your money in real estate, but it looks like you have a very when I look at your portfolio, it's very varied. And how does having that wide, varied resume of results help you in running a successful business?
I think so when I started my career, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is cross skills. That you learn something in one discipline that you think applies one way, but when you go to a different field, it could apply another way. And then it's all about continuing to try. So when I first started out, I started in politics. I wanted to be a campaign manager.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that's what I went to school for. I was a political science major. I had a minor in economics.
Okay.
So I volunteered for a political campaign. I thought this guy was going to win. He didn't win. So when you're trying to volunteer for a political campaign and your candidate doesn't win, they go back to being a lawyer, or they go back to being a city councilor, and you go back to being unemployed. So that's what it is. So after I volunteered for a campaign, and I just finished school, and while I was in school, I was working for a company called Davis and Henderson, who did check processing for banks. And it was really because the candidate lost and I didn't have a job that I had to stay in banking. And then it's from staying in banking that kind of carries my career. So I spent some time at Davis and Henderson. I spent some time at an insurance company, Manulife. I spent some time at Genworth, which is a mortgage insurance company. And it's all about learning risk and management and people's appetite. I'm not going to say fun, but I had a run-in with my investments with an advisor who I think poorly advised me. And then I ended up taking control of my investment portfolio myself and figured out how to trade derivative commodities. So I'm trading derivative commodities, and I'm making a little bit of money. I started with my tax return, believe it or not. And
now I'm about to pause you there, because derivative people are like, what is that? Break that down.
Right. So that's okay. So people are familiar with the stock market, right? So the stock market is, Apple stock or Tesla stock trades at a value. You buy that stock and you wait for it to go up, and then you make money. A derivative is a layer on both sides of a stock. It allows you to bet the stock up or down, and you leverage that. Leverage means you put a lot on the bet. So you could put $1 on it, you could put 10 on it, you could put 20 on it, you could put 100 on it, you could put 1,000,000 on it, leveraging the movement of the stock price. All you need is a bank that will settle your order. So let's say, for example, Taryell is a stock. And I say, you know what, Taryell, I like you. You're a good stock. You're going to go up $1 today. But I want to bet that dollar for $1,000,000. I got to find a bank who will leverage that. So instead of just making the $1 in your stock move, someone's giving me the derivative contract that says, hey, if Taryell goes up $1, we'll pay you $1,000,000. The downside is that if you go down $1, I owe $1,000,000. So that's the game.
So you better be sure.
You better know what you're doing. You better know what you're doing. You better be fast. You better be quick. You better be smart. And that is really where I started to make my bones, was derivatives trading. And then from there, it became, okay, you have a little bit of money. Why not invest in a real estate plot of land? Why not invest in tech companies? Why not invest in other businesses? And the real light bulb moment is I was given an opportunity to be an operations manager for a tech company from my derivatives trading, and spent 4 years doing that. And that's where I really cut my teeth. That's where I learned business management, negotiation, execution, because I was learning on the fly. Because what I knew at that time was banking, politics, and trading.
Yeah.
That's the only 3 things I learned. And with those 3 skills, I had to be the head of operations for a tech company. I know nothing about tech. I'll tell you this right now. I didn't set up the camera. I still don't know nothing about tech. You feel me? So, I didn't do the camera. I don't know how this microphone works. I'm leaning into it. I don't know if it's on. You feel me? But I was in charge of operations for a tech company, and then it's your staff is looking at you and they expect you to have the answers, and you know that you only got 3 things to pull from. You got politics, you got trading, you have your history of real estate, and you use those things, and you are convincing men and women every day to follow you into the fire. That daily grind is, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what business is. Business is putting out a fire every day. Every day firework. So that's why I say I'm a Renaissance man, because it comes back to, I'm not scared by what I don't know. I'm excited by it, because I know that by the end of this, I'll know what I'm made of.
Ooh, I love that. I love the other thing I like about you is because it seems like your career was like even when you were in a career, it was like an entrepreneurship career, like because you were entrepreneurial in the way that you handled your business and went from different industry to industry, job to job, and so forth. And I feel like that's the perfect combination now, because when I'm looking at the stock market, and I've been playing the stock market the past couple of years, like we had a nice tier in 2020 and coming out, and the tech highs, and now we in this the Feds keep on bringing the rates up. Tech's making some movements. They're not making the big movements that they did before. They're doing some layoffs. It's still it's the run isn't as big as it used to be, right? So now there's so much volatility in the market that the things that is perfect to play against those margins, because other people was just putting in because like, oh, we already know because of 2020 and 21 we made that. So, but now we putting it in, we ain't getting those same type returns. So like, all right, where can I make the biggest gains? Because I'm not seeing them anymore. So I feel you got the perfect combination of stuff going on to be able to like understand, okay, here's how this policy and government's going to affect this with tech. So I could bet against the market here, make my big increase here, pull out. Am I explaining this correctly? Am I seeing it correctly?
Look, I would say that to me, I play I understand trading because I understand politics. And what politics is trying to help you understand is people and their response in different environments. My professor used to say, politics is the study of allocating scarce resources. So all politics is you got 100 people, you got 10 loaves of bread. How do you trick 90 people into the idea that they're getting fed? That's what politics is. You got $10, you got 100 people. How can you trick 90 people that there's enough for them? Because you got to keep them working. You got to keep the society moving forward. And you can never let them know that there's really not enough for them. That's why we have unemployment. That's why we have people under the poverty line. Forget the unemployment number. There's a huge number of people working that will never not be in debt. That's an acceptable number in capitalism. A huge percentage of the workforce that we know will never not be in debt. That's politics. So when I look at the market and I look at what smart money is doing, it is understanding that. It is what's the setup and what's the play. So you have a situation where throughout the past couple of years, we were able to exist in bad economics because we needed to. Overprinting money, and without any consideration of how we'd have to get that money back. Because we needed to. Now is the moment for medicine. And it's all you're gauging is people's stomach to hurt humanity. Because when you raise interest rates into high inflation, you are accepting that you're hurting people, but you're telling them it's for the greater good. But you accept it. You're telling them, I know it's more expensive, and I know you owe more on it now than you did before, but I got to do this now to help you later. Politics. That's the crazy thing. And the hard part is in communities that I come from, and young men that I speak with, that's what I try and let them understand. Everything is a game. But life is the only game that people play and don't want to study the rules. That's what makes it difficult. Everybody want a job, everybody want to pay taxes, but they don't want to understand why and how much. That's what's going to make it difficult, So when you say that I have this skill set for what's happening now, I don't know, but I do know that I at least am aware enough to know the changing of the wind,
Nah.
You got to know when to leave your door open and when to leave it closed, just like going through any neighborhood.
Like, because I'm thinking about, because I consider you one of those like self-made individuals, and I wonder how being self-made really affects how you approach investments versus somebody like a Warren Buffett or
Sure.
or somebody who's inherited some wealth and then grew the wealth, right? Sure. Like, give me your perspective on that.
My perspective on that always comes from a story. It's the Bill Gates story, which I love. Bill Gates famously drops out of Harvard to start Microsoft. What people never say about that story is Bill Gates' father was a high-powered attorney who was an alumni. When they asked Bill, why are you dropping out to start a computer company? Bill said, because if I'm wrong, my dad can always get me back into Harvard. He knew his cushion existed, and it allowed him to be fearless. What I take from that isn't the cushion. And that's what a lot of people take from that story. Oh man, he had a cushion. What I take from that is that the success comes from being fearless. You gotta be willing to go. There's another interview. I remember it was Elon Musk, who I know is a different character. Elon Musk said, I would rather commit seppuku than be unsuccessful. Seppuku is Japanese honor suicide. It's when you take a knife, you run it through your gut and you kneel while somebody cuts your head off. He said, I'd rather commit seppuku than be unsuccessful. So to answer your question of how do I look at investments, the key is not to look at it differently than them, than everyone else. The key is to look at it the same, because the fearlessness is what we all need to be successful.
Yes, I agree. And I think a lot of people just don't know how to approach that. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on how you approach that, because, our parents, at least I come from immigrant parents. So like my dad's Nigerian, right? And his way to not Yoruba.
Okay.
So it, it was always, my friend, you're going to study your books, right? Study your books. That's the way to success. You are study your books. And the expectation is you're going to be a engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, something to like if you said, oh, I'm at least in these times an entrepreneur or an artist. Tell me again. How are you?
What is this thing you are saying? Why the music?
Yes.
Why have you tried
why
that
the
thing?
music? Where did I go wrong?
What have I done? Why has God punished me in this way?
Yes. Why have you punished me this? And they didn't mean no harm. That's just in their mind. Take the government job, take this the school education, and that was success to them, right?
Yep.
Like the for them, not going this route was like committing Japanese suicide. It was just so unhonorable, right?
Yeah.
How do we shift the mindset of like, no, there's something great about what you're doing with that mindset approach to how you approach business that I don't think everybody can kind of grasp, understand, and appreciate. How do you start to kind of change that mindset in the ecosystem?
They're gonna be mad at me. They're
Okay.
gonna be mad. So I'm gonna start off by saying I love y'all. The romantic story would be to say that when I told my mother and father that I was gonna quit my job to do my own company, and I want to point out to you, my mother is an entrepreneur. She runs a salon and spa. When I told my mother, who's an entrepreneur, my father, who always wanted to be an entrepreneur, that I was going to start my own company, they both told me not to do it. When I went through hard times, they both told me to get a job. My parents did not believe the company was doing well until they didn't have to work anymore. How do you change the mindset? It's so difficult to share this particular part of the story because I love my parents. They are my heroes, but they did not believe in me either. I remember one time I came to my dad and he said to me, I remember when you came downstairs and you told me, Pop, by 30, I'll be a millionaire. And he says, I did not know how to tell you I didn't believe you. So I just nodded. He didn't believe in me either. So what is it that you need? Total self-belief and one sounding board. It could be a friend, could be a partner, but you need somebody who at least is willing to sit in the trenches, in the mud, and remind you what you said you wanted to be. Because there's gonna be a lot of times when you're gonna forget. That's the most important thing. And sometimes it's not your parents. Because your parents are worried for you. They're scared. They want you to have an easier life. They want you to have the path of least resistance. But there is no path to greatness that doesn't have great resistance. So technically, your parents' maternal desire is to keep you from being great because they want you to have the easiest path possible. So you got to want it for yourself. You got to want it for yourself. You got to love the pain. You got to love the struggle. And it's sometimes it's just that one person who can remind you who you are. The other person doesn't even need to be great. They just have to remind you that you said you want it to be. That's something that people mess up when they're like, man, my circle did it. No, your circle doesn't got to be what you want to be. They just have to remind you what you said. And then you bring everybody with you. That's what I would say. Yeah, like I said, the romantic version is, man, my father, he invested. I say this to, I'm gonna share a story about our community that is, I hesitate to even share it this way. So, it's a good thing you got editorial control. So, depending on how this hits, you could adjust it. When companies in other communities go under or run into trouble, the mother, the father, the cousin, the uncle across the street, the best friend, the lawyer from around the way, the friend from high school, that in those communities, everybody lost because they all bet on the kid. When Black-owned businesses go under, it hurts the founder because nobody in the family really threw money in. And I just want to let that sit. I remember thinking that one day, yo, if that guy's company goes under, it's his family and 3 levels deep, 5 levels deep. If I run into trouble, I wouldn't even have to call a single family member. That's crazy. That's the biggest change that we need in our community. We just got to start being willing to bet on the kids, man.
Yeah, I'll add one to it. It's the company and whatever the community benefited from the company.
Right.
Because like there's some companies that pour back into the community, and then when that's gone, the whole support that for around that thing that it offered to the community is gone. Because I've seen that, for instance, is happening as well, and it's a sad tragedy. But I definitely understand and get what you're saying, and that's real talk. That's something that we have to come to and address as a community. How do we build better support systems around our black talent, our black founders, and making sure that we create generational wealth that uplifts the family and the community, right? We gotta change that. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
But you never know how to change it. Probably it'll take a couple success stories outside of music and athletics. At the end, but I don't want to speak negative on athletics. Everybody who has a pro contract is a top paid CEO of their own company. You sign a rookie deal. You sign a rookie deal in any one of the 5 major pro leagues. You're on the road to set for life money. So I don't want to undercut that, but there is that reality as well in the business world, and I think that's what we want to start giving people. Being an entrepreneur is important. I talk about my time in that other company, and I never talk about it as a founder, because it's about being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a good thing to have, and I think that's what our communities have to start promoting too. You're allowed to be the person who didn't put up the money, but you work it like it's yours.
Yeah.
Right? I'll put it to you this way. To me, my favorite entrepreneur of all time is the current owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer is the first CEO at Microsoft after Bill Gates. He didn't put up a penny. He's the most successful entrepreneur of all time. It was not his idea. It was Bill. It was Paul Allen. When they got to employee number 13, Bill says, I remember this guy, Steve. He's very diligent. He's a good manager. I want to bring him in. And over the next 20 to 30 years, they get close enough that when Bill Gates is walking away from the thing that he created with his buddy, he calls Steve and says, yo, you got to take it. Now, granted, they have a falling out. Apparently, they don't talk anymore. That's its own story. Yeah. But the point is that for 30 years, Steve worked another person's thing like it was his. We need to have people like that in our community too.
Yeah.
Because how many people do you know in our community would work it for 30 like it's theirs?
Not too many.
Not too many. They'll work it for 5 and then they're going to do their own thing. They'll work it for 10 and then they're going to do their own thing. How many people are willing to bleed for 30 and it's not even my name on the door? Those are the adjustments. That's going to cause the difference. I'll give you another story. Google starts out their head office is in a garage. Okay, the woman rents out a garage to these guys who say they want to have a search engine. She ends up being, I think, employee number 7 or 13. I can't remember the number. Don't quote me. But she ends up being employee number 13 at Google. The woman who rented them the garage. Follow me for a second. This is a woman who rented a garage. Okay. Many years later, when Google is large, they're looking into video streaming, and they have different ideas. This woman, employee number 13 from Google, comes to them and says, hey, there's this video streaming service. I think there's something here. They say, no problem. If you think you could turn it into a viable business, then let's try. Employee number 13 at Google is currently the CEO of YouTube because she rented a garage. How many people in our community are willing to rent a garage?
Yeah.
These are the stories that I think we got to look at, because it's not the big investment. It's not, it's renting a garage.
Right.
It's showing up on time. It's working it like it's yours, even if your name's not on the door, because a commitment to excellence produces additional excellence.
So I want to dive into that a little bit about the commitment to excellence, and here's a different, and I'm playing devil's advocate with you, just another mindset around, what sometimes our community looks at as like, they talk about work-life balance. Like, I'm not going to do that because like I got to do all this and that, like, and I want to have work-life balance, and I want to be there to do this, whether it be family. I'm not saying you should displace your values if you want to have more time with your family, but I think. Well, let me not put this portion of it out there. I want to get your thoughts on.
Come on, man, say it.
Because I don't want to influence how you think about what work-life balance is. So I'll give my piece after you kind of speak to it. Is there a such thing as work-life balance when you're an entrepreneur?
Not to me.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not even saying I have this totally correct. But when I talk to people and they talk at all about balance, No. I remember R.I.P. the late great Kobe. I have a poster of Kobe in my basement. He had a documentary once called Muse after he ruptured his Achilles. Kobe said when he was a young kid, he decided that he would be a bad son, a bad father sometimes, and a bad husband so he could be a great basketball player. Does that sound like somebody who knew anything about work-life balance?
No.
So I'm not saying, I am just saying, when I see The Rock traveling all over the place, I forget The Rock has a daughter. I'm thinking, when does he see her? Now, I'm not advocating being a bad father. I'm assuming he brings her on the flight, and I'm assuming he's there. I'm just saying that these people are not consumed with work-life balance. That's, I just submit to that. I submit to that. You got to be addicted to what you want to build, because what's built lasts longer than what's born. That's my personal opinion.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
What's built lasts longer than what's born.
I like that one. That's a bar right there. We'll have to
chop
that up somehow.
So if I'm building something, I can't balance nothing out if I'm building something. If I have urgency, there was a period of time when I knew I was going to be great, but I wasn't great yet. And the only thing that pissed me off was time. Every year, my birthday, I'd get angry. Like, man, another year. I was supposed to have it by now. Go again. Because once you know in your mind, this is where I'm going, there's no balance, because I got to chew up these yards. Because I agree with you, Malcolm Gladwell, you got to put in your time, you got to put in your hours. So if you believe in a world where I got to pay my dues and put in my hours, why are you looking for balance? Why wouldn't you want to chew up your 10,000 hours early?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I totally agree.
That's my perspective. I'll turn it over to you, because
I love that perspective. I agree with a lot of the nuances of your perspective. The way I look at it too is I look at it like, first, I'm in love with the journey. I'm just so in love with the journey, because the journey is what builds you, what molds you, what creates you, what causes you to pivot, reflect, critique, build better, right? Get stronger and wiser. And then the other thing that I look at, I don't look for balance. I look for work-life flow, integration. So like, this is my life, right? I'm committed to this thing. How do I integrate? Where do you integrate into it and flow at certain levels, right? With it. But this is the goal. I'm not deviating from the goal.
That's right.
How are you going to fit into my life as I'm reaching the goal is the question.
Absolutely.
And so there's integration. This is the goal. I'm here for greatness to reach that goal. How are you integrated in that or not integrated in it? As simple as that.
I like that, because you gotta. I remember a friend of mine once said, I never have free time, I make time. I think it's like an Instagram post, and he was just requoting it. But I like that. It's like you're saying, it's flow. How much can you be on board with the journey? If the journey doesn't have to stop for you, then there's room for you. If the journey has to stop for you, there's no room for you. And being militant about that.
And I'm blessed to have a wife that's
Amen. The man who finds a wife finds a good thing. Let me snap for that. Not too many men are married, bro. You snapping for that. Congratulations, bro, man. Come on, bro.
Thank you.
Come on, give her a shout out. Come on, man. Say it.
That she's committed to the journey with me, and she understands. And so, like, I say, yo, I gotta do this podcast. I gotta do this. Okay, like, she makes sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
So she may want some more quality time, but she makes sacrifices so that I can build this thing that I'm trying to build that's bigger than me.
Yeah. There's a saying that says, behind every great man is a great woman. The flip side is, behind every ruined man is a terrible partner. I'm not joking. If you we gonna talk about it, or we gonna do it?
That's real.
If you look at the dudes that are very, very, very upset right now, right? The company's not doing good. It's losing a little bit of money. The opportunity didn't hit the way it wanted to hit. That opportunity to play pro didn't go. Talk to them for 30 minutes and wait for them to tell you about the woman, because she in there. You know?
Yeah.
So that's another thing too. It is a skill to pick a good partner. And obviously a skill that you've acquired. That's part of it. You know?
Nice.
That's part of it. It's not any woman, it's the woman. You know what I'm saying? Because that's part of your journey as well. It's the one you make room for, make time for, the one who's willing to sacrifice. It's a dance, you know, like Baryshnikov.
Love it. Now, quick question: do you miss anything about being an employee?
Wow, I miss being able to leave it at work. Yeah,
you're always on, huh?
I'm always on. My phone is attached to my body. There are days where you know it's a rough day, and every time my phone rings, I have a little anxiety because I know it's piling on, you know. And as an employee, I could punch out. I can go to the pub. I can go see my family. I could watch a movie. I still do love movies. I'm scared to go to movies sometimes because I don't know if I could handle the 2 hours unplugged. Like, can everything operate if I'm away for 2 hours? I haven't seen Avatar because it's simply too long. 3.5 hours is too long for no one to be able to reach me. You feel me? So it's tough. So I miss being able to unplug for sure. I miss it and don't miss it, if that makes sense.
Right. It's like a give and a take. Now, as an entrepreneur, what supplies can you not work without? What's your go-to?
My phone.
Your phone?
I need my phone. Everything's on my phone. Emails, phone calls,
that you really are like, oh man, you gotta have this app because it's helped me 10x my game.
Ooh. Let me take a look. Ooh. Ooh. You know what? Actually, it was a news platform, CNBC.
CNBC.
Getting consistent market watch news was critical for me. Consistently plugged in, getting the alerts. When I stopped guessing what was going on and knew what was going on, that ability to just be informed drove confidence. That confidence drove business, and you just always feel like you're in the know. So I would say that the apps that I have that give me information, my inputs, were the most important, not my outputs. That's another thing you got to manage, right? As an entrepreneur, you should be inputting as much as you output.
Yeah. What's been the hardest thing that you've ever had to face in your entrepreneurship journey?
He's gonna be mad that I tell this story.
Come on with it.
So mad. Yo, I'm giving you good stuff right now. Oh my god. Yo, all right. So I believe that your closest executives should be your friends because you want them to be irreplaceable. So I pick my C-suite for loyalty. So my chiefs, my executive officers, they're loyal. And then I pick my workers for skill because you could replace them if you have to. The issue that happens is that it's people who are very, very close to you that you have to say no to. So the hardest thing that I ever had happen was, we were developing as a company. We were going through a rough quarter. And a friend of mine I knew was in need of additional money, wanted to move, knew a situation going on with his home. And it's like, we're friends. So we talk about how much he hates his house. And he asked for an advance so that he could move. And I said no. I said no. And the balance sheet it ended up working out. But that day, that moment, I said no. And to his credit, he didn't make it an issue, but I know it bothered him. And it was like months later when everything got worked out, we sat down again and I said, I know that bothered you, but do you understand? And he says, yeah, but that was a hard one because when you're a business and you make decisions, you don't know the impact. But because of the way I've built my executive team, I know the raw impact of all the financial decisions that I make. So if I give you a raise, I know what it's going to do for you. If I take away a raise opportunity, I know what it's going to do for you. And then that's the part that lingers in my head, because I tell him no and we still got to work and I still got to hear him complain about his house. And then in my heart, it's like, I could do something about this, but it's just not responsible. So that was hard. Very, very
that's
hard.
a tough one. But as leaders, we sometimes have to make those tough decisions and talk calls and be able to live with those decisions and be able to, stand 10 toes on it and communicate to other individuals on why we felt it was right to make that decision, which you did. Yeah. So good, kudos to you. I want to go back a little bit to, because I'm looking through your one sheet, the drive group. How did you come up with the idea for your business?
I was at my dad's house. I was upstairs in the same room that I had moved out of my college dorm room to be in. And this is a small room, but my whole life was in that room. And I had a vision about the drive that it takes to get to the next step. And I wanted to, when I first started out, it was supposed to be a think tank, like a focus group of individuals who were driven to get to the next step. So we'd invest in local businesses, barbershops, events. And the idea behind the drive group is it was supposed to be myself and a bunch of other people. When the first thing that I came up with the concept, hey, we'll be a driven group. And then I talked about what it would cost. Nobody else was in. So the name The Drive Group comes because I wanted partners at first. And then nobody was really in a place at the time. So I kept the name because I thought, there's always an opportunity for people to come on board. And then the idea behind it is a driven group of individuals who are looking to tackle the next business issue. So at the time, it was us as a trading think tank improving our derivatives trading. And then the goal was to drive that to a point where we could invest in a specific plot of real estate. That was the initial idea. So I did that for a bit. And then there was the opportunity, like I said, with the tech company, while the drive group already existed. But because my partners maybe weren't as driven at the time, it was just me. So I kept the drive group going, and then also wanted to improve my skills by being an entrepreneur, right? At this tech company, which was called Shell Service Capital.
Larry, here's a unique thing that, where my mind goes with this, because, although it was meant on the purpose of the drive group, and then you organically had this transition into tech, computers, hard drive is still dealing with drive. Yeah. So it's a double entendre play on words, right?
Yeah, okay, so you're a rapper too now.
My spit balls every now and then,
Every now and then you drop it. So that's what it came from. It was supposed to be a group of people, but it's just the idea of being driven. Don't run to your future. Drive there. You get there faster.
Ooh. Messiah drop bars all through the episode. All right. So, the other thing I'm thinking of, because we just dropped a book. Shout out to my business partner Adeshola, and we dropped a book on how to turn the idea. And mostly you're looking at the mindset of early, entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, how they really get this idea to a concept. And so I love that you shared that experience. How, when you think about turning ideas into real profitable businesses, how does one turn their idea into a real profitable business? What's some nuggets or some gems you can share with us about that?
Yeah. So the number one thing I tell people all the time, when you start a business, you're not trying to get money, because that's hard. When you just have an idea, getting money is actually hard. you're actually trying to get favor.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get gifts. You're trying to get opportunities. So the easiest way to grow your idea into a viable business is to start accumulating favors. So early on, you got to do stuff for free. You got to do the extra. You got to do a little more. You got to barter services. So, hey, I'll do this. Can you do that for me? And then you have to create a scenario where your partners are getting what they want while also helping you get what you want. If you can work that part out, when the money starts, it'll come in a lot faster, a lot quicker, and with more focus, because you'll be getting it from people in whom you have good favor. Do you see what I'm saying? The way somebody can vouch for you. Sometimes it's not the person that you treated well, but it's when they come back and say, you're a good dude. I know this person with deep pockets, and I vouched for you. Somebody being able to say that you're good debt, you're good people is key. So that's what I always tell entrepreneurs. When you first start out, I know in the bottom of my heart, it's money that you think you want. I know that. It's not. You want favor, because money is finite. Favors are limitless. You can never run out of favors if you can call them in, if you're good people, but people will run out of money. You see what I'm saying? So it's favor. It's favor. You know, I use Elon Musk as an example all the time. Elon Musk wanted to buy Twitter. He called his friends because he understands favor. That's where that comes to. Now you're going to say, yeah, but I don't have friends with $44 billion. But the concept is the same. The concept is the same.
And every little bit adds up once
every little bit adds up. If you could raise $40 and you are a person of good favor, your circle will climb. Then you'll be able to raise 400, 4,000, 40,000, 400,000. But it's about the favor. That is my personal opinion.
Yeah, I love that. And you never know who people have in their circle. Like I've been surprised in my lifetime where I had a favor from somebody, and they knew somebody who was really famous with deep pockets, and it's like, yo, they like what you're doing. They want to talk to you. I was like, what? You know, I was like, okay, all right, let's do it. So you never know. You never know. Man. So this section, I like the next question I'm gonna ask you, and I'm gonna give you context to why I ask it, because when I used to talk to young people, or let's say college students graduating from college or high school, there's this thing that they have, like they may not have any experience, but they get that degree and they're like, oh, I should be making this good job. I've learned everything I need to do to be an executive. Somebody needs to pay me, right? And you know, and I try to tell folks, you know, like not everybody is lucky to start off like that. Most people have humble beginnings. Some of your favorite rappers, CEOs, executives, they didn't start. They didn't start off the way you think they started off. Like they had, ask them what their first job was, right? I guarantee you, most of them their first job was a humbling experience, and so that's why I like to ask this question. What was your first job?
My first job was a receptionist at my mother's salon.
Okay, all right.
My first job was a receptionist at my mother's salon. My second job, which is, I guess, what people usually want, I was packing ocean spray juice in a factory. So it's like you pack the skid and then I'd wrap it with like sealant, and then they put it on the truck. And then if you really wanted to make money, then you do the tomato sauce, because it's summer and it's hot. So you got to move the tomato sauce out, but it smells gnarly, and it's kind of a cold fridge, and you get cold. But those were my first two jobs. But to your point about difficulty and struggle, something to throw in. I don't want to take you off. So,
go ahead.
When I first started my company, I hit a certain amount of money, and I quit my job, and I was running my company. I ran out of money and had to go back to work. That was a humbling experience, because not only did I have to go back to work, I had to go back to my father's house and say, "Yo, Pops, I'm out of money." So think about it. I had two false starts to entrepreneurship. The first one, I had enough money, I quit, did not last, and I had to go back to a job. The job I went back to paid half of the job I left. I had people literally my best friend, he's going to hate that I tell this story, but forget him. No, I'm joking. My best friend, when we met for lunch, it was around my birthday. I'm born in November. We met for lunch and I'm telling him I got to go back to work because I'm out of money. This is my friend. He said, I told you so. It wasn't like a, come on, man, you got it. It's like, I told you so. It's hard. I never forgot that. I love him. I love him dearly. But I never forgot that. That motivated me so much. I was pissed off. But he was right. I got to go back to work. And that was hard. But like that was a very hard time because even the job I got, it's not like I was like a temp, so they paid every 2 weeks. I mean, it was, and then while I had started the company, I had debts. So literally when I was getting paid, it was just going to settle the company debts. I was barely making any money. But I needed a certain type of job because I still wanted the freedom to work my business. So I took a cheaper paying job that I felt would help me settle the debts while I still had the free time to try and work my company, because I thought to myself, I've gone back to work, but I'm not staying at work. Like I hadn't given up. I just needed, I couldn't default on some of these things. But yeah, just to that point, I mean, it's
I know it's a tough but humbling experience, but that's where the focus and drive and dedication comes to. When you look at all your experiences in totality, what would you say are the steps that helped you get to where you're at today in your career and business?
My greatest asset is my people skills. There's different forms of intelligence. My social intelligence is very high. And the benefit that I've had in my business is I garner good favor from my partners. So my social intelligence is my greatest skill. I garner great favor from my partners, and I'd like to think, I'm going to check the room, that I garner good favor from my partners and staff.
Well, you garner good favor from somebody because they help you set up the tech. So you at least got one.
So I'd like to think, but yeah, that if I was to say, if somebody says, "Hey, what is the thing that my social intelligence is very high. I know how to respect people. I know how to show love, and that pays dividends."
And that's an important thing to have, because that allows for a certain level of influence, and sometimes that's what is needed to create and build successful businesses. I mean, there's many different skill sets you use, but that is one really good skill set to have, and I think that's something that both me and you share. I can see off the bat. Now, somebody's going to listen to the story, get inspired by the story.
I hope so.
Yes, they will. And then there's two people that come to mind in my head that I sometimes come across, and that's the young person that's trying to figure out what they want to do and be in life, that's in college. And then sometimes I get people who come up to me who are like in that midlife crisis, like, man, I didn't follow my dream. This dead end job isn't me anymore. I want to do the next thing, right? I heard the interview you just did with your man. I'm gonna call you T Dot. But with Trivelle, and I think I want to go down that route. A lot of the things he's saying that he's doing is the things that I want to do. So what's some advice you would give to somebody who's inspired by your story and wants to start a career in your industry?
Yeah, so obviously what started me was commodities trading. That's what I would say was my core discipline. Everything else I learned. What I'll say about commodities trading is what I'll say about any industry. So hopefully this applies. Whatever you do, be addicted to it and it will work. But you need to be addicted, because there's a lot of times when the math makes no sense, when the track record makes no sense, when the history makes no sense. And the only reason that you will try again is because of your high level of addiction. People hear addiction and they think it's a bad thing, and it is. But what is an addict? An addict is a person who returns to the scene of the crime in spite of previous events. Whatever you pick, be addicted. That will carry you through more than half of the journey, because the hits won't stop you because you're addicted.
Yeah. And then that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, the Kobe poster and what he was saying, like that Mamba mentality. There's a certain level of addiction that he had to this thing, which, came from, his influences before him, Michael Jordan, who was addicted to this thing, right? And the level of work ethic that he put into it, they was bound to be successful in it, right? When you put that much attention and detail and addiction to something.
A second thing I'll add to that: be ready for it to produce different than what you thought. Sometimes what you think it will do and what it does aren't the same thing. Don't be stuck by what you wanted it to do. Be willing to embrace what it is doing. Just control what you can control. Be addicted to whatever you pursue. Be open to what it spits back out. Those are the two I'd say.
Yeah, I like that. Yep. Now, when you look at your industry, what does the future look like to you? And especially for people that look like us, melanated people, like what does the future look like for this industry?
So I'll cover the three verticals that I'm in. Trading I do for myself. That's a personal discipline. I love it. It keeps me aware of the market space. I think that there's going to be a lot more what they call retail traders entering the space, which is people trying to manage their own stock portfolios. I think that because of that, there's going to be a lot more money. The markets are going to move a lot faster. I just think that people will have to be careful because algorithmic trading is key. The robots are doing most of it. Everything's based off statistic, likelihood, and probability. So I think that you'll see the markets moving faster, being more volatile, producing more revenue, and more people trying to try their hand at the wild west that is the North American economy. That's on the trading side. On the real estate side, I think especially with what we're coming into now, you'll see a moment where price and good credit or decent credit will intersect. So I think the prices are coming lower. And I think that the banks are going to be in a position where it's going to be a tighter pool of people who can qualify for big loans. So to that end, I say pay your bills as much as you can. Just try and keep your credit strong. They always say it's better to have credit than cash in this society. Try and keep your credit as strong as possible. Keep your FICO up. Because there's going to come a time when you're going to want to weaponize that and gobble up some of this stuff. And get ready to take a shot. On the real estate side, I think that's what's getting ready to happen. Real estate investors are gobbling up less real estate, and it is now more the individuals that are going. So individuals that have a home are leveraging that to buy another. Individuals who don't have a home are coming together with 10 people to go out and execute purchases. So I think you'll see that in real estate. I think you'll see a lot more people trying to take their hand at the real estate game. I just hope that they're doing it at the right time. So, follow the news, see the price trends, monitor, late mortgage payments. I mean, the thing that almost collapsed the housing market was collateralized mortgage obligations, CMOs, but collateralized debt obligations is another thing, which is, you're gobbling up sort of huge plots of land. You could flip it to a developer. There's opportunities that I think are going to arise there in the real estate side. In the venture side, now is going to be the time for fresh ideas, because a climate like this is where businesses fail if they're poorly run. So you're going to see a lot of investment funds needing to replenish their portfolio from businesses that maybe they took a hit on and applying it to better, smarter, stronger, growing businesses. A second thing is, if you're an entrepreneur, now is going to be the time that you can acquire great talent for cheap, because everybody's getting laid off. We were talking about that, right? Very smart, intelligent people are being sent home. If you're an entrepreneur, now is your time to take the swing at the person who used to work for the big company. And they'll bring that knowledge, they'll bring that perspective. Now is your opportunity, to really gobble up some good talent for affordable pricing. So that's where I'd say the three verticals are. That's my trading outlook, my real estate outlook, and my entrepreneurial venture business outlook.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's $1 million worth of game right there, just to let you know that. Now, me and you can speak for, I feel like hours on end, but I try to keep these in a good, hour nugget or so. I'm not one of those podcasters that, like Joe Rogan style. I don't even know how he does it. Have them long conversations. But anyways, no, right? Let's end it off like this. What projects are you currently working on, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing we have going on is at our website, info@thedrivegroup.ca, where people will be able to see Drive 250, which is an opportunity for new venture ideas, kind of what I'm saying, to get $250,000 of investment from us. So we encourage people to go to our website, www.thedrivegroup.ca. Go take a look at our Drive 250 contest. That, I think, is the most important thing for a fresh entrepreneur. That window is going to close in April. So rush there now. And that's our big focus for the summer. We want to, like I said, I think now's the time where businesses are going to be at an opportunity to grow. So we want to be part of that. I'm putting my money where our mouth is, and we want to invest in a fresh startup this summer.
Nice. Love it, love it, love it. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Another episode with a bunch of gems. Make sure you follow this man. I'm going to make sure I put all the show notes inside, everything he just spoke about, the links where you can connect with him right below. So just click on them. If you're driving and you can get to write it down, don't worry. I always have it in the show notes for you.
Yep.
My brother, any last word? Say it again.
You can follow us on Instagram, The Drive Group.
The Drive Group.
The Drive Group Inc. Yeah.
All right. Put the ink on it.
Any last words? You won't find it.
You won't find it. Trivelle, any last words of wisdom for the people before we sign off?
Not at all, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. God love and God bless.
Thank you, sir. And it's been another episode of Rise Urban Nation. We'll catch you on the next time.